Hi everyone, it's Miss Panganaban. Happy Tuesday. I hope you all have been having a wonderful day, and I hope that all the distance learning and online learning has been going well and it's not too difficult to manage. We miss you all so much. I wish that we could be learning together in the classroom, but I am so thankful for technology and the ability to be able to see you all still and to just hear your voices and in live time. I hope you all enjoy this lesson. Today we are going to review our multiplication. Some of you may remember and still have been practicing over this time, but we're going to do a review together. We're going to be reviewing 1 by 4 digit multiplication, and we're going to be using an area model, and we're going to be using the place value sections method. Now, I hope you enjoyed the lesson before this video, and I just want to make it really clear how important it is to have your single digit multiplication memorized, or that you should just be able to get that so quickly and fluently, because in 4th grade, we're multiplying 1 digit by 4 digit and 2 by 2 digit multiplication. So it's so important for you to be practicing your single digit multiplication so that you aren't struggling with a single digit multiplication when you're doing greater digits multiplication. Okay, so I want to start with our I will statement. So if you went through the lesson, you saw that is that I will use place value understanding to multiply larger whole numbers. Okay, so we do have some gestures to go with that. Remember, it's I will use place value understanding to multiply larger whole numbers. Okay, so just remember that I will statement, and make sure that you guys are just practicing your fluency to make sure that you get that just so strong, that way that you can multiply these larger numbers a lot easier. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to my camera, and just make sure too that you were paying attention to the academic language, because that's important as well as I go ahead and show you this lesson. Alrighty, so I switched on over to my hover cam, and I hope that the focus works well because sometimes it goes in and out. But we're going to be working on a 1 digit by 4 digit multiplication problem together here. Okay, we're going to use the area model, and we're going to use the place value sections method. I had to use marker to make sure that you guys could see it through the video. Please make sure that you're using pencil when you're doing math. Remember, it's okay to make mistakes, but in math we typically tend to make a little bit more mistakes, and we want to make sure that we can erase it and it doesn't affect our results when we're solving. You can see here, I myself made a mistake, and I wish that I could erase that, but you can't because it's marker. So please make sure you guys are using pencil when you're doing math, okay? So we have our problem here. We have 4 times 3,826. Okay, I have my problem up here. If you paid attention to the vocabulary from the previous slide, I just want to make sure that we are identifying the academic language. So before I even start my problem, I want to make sure that we all remember that the 4 and the 3,826 are my factors. So I'm just going to label them as factors. They should be labeled factor, factor. Oops. Factor, factor. Okay? And so when you multiply your factors, you're going to get your answer, but the academic language we use for multiplication is product. So when multiplication problem, you have factor times factor equals product. Just want to make sure we're using this academic language. Alrighty, so instead of saying 2 numbers, we're going to say 2 factors. Instead of saying answer, we're going to say product. Okay, here I have my steps for solving my multiplication problem. Okay, step 1 is to draw your area model. So we're going to draw an area model, and I'll explain why it's called an area model as I'm drawing. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. And make sure that you make it big enough to write neatly inside. If you make a tiny rectangle and then you have to write even smaller multiplication problems within it, it's going to be very hard to see your work. All right, so you draw your area model. The reason we call these area models is because when you find the area of a rectangle, you should remember this from the past, you multiply the length times the width. And if you multiply the length times the width, you get the area of this rectangle. So that's why we call it an area model. So we draw a rectangle, we're going to find the area of this rectangle. Now we label our area model or a rectangle in expanded form. Okay? So if my length is the longer side, I'm going to use my greater factor as the value for that side. So since 3,826 is greater than 4, that's going to be my length. Okay, and I'll get to that in a second. My width is going to be my smaller number. So 4 is going to be the width of my rectangle, 4. Okay, I'm going to write it on both sides here. Okay, now I'm going to write my length, 3,826, but I'm going to write it in expanded form because this is the place value sections method. So we're going to multiply each number by its place value. So instead of 3, this is 3,000. So I have 3,000 plus 800 plus 20 plus 6. Okay, and every time I see an addition sign, I'm going to draw a line down. And I'm going to write the same thing on the opposite end. 3,800 plus 20 plus 6. 3,826. 3,826. Boom. So I drew my area model. I labeled my area model in expanded form. Screen grab. Now my next step is to write my multiplication problems. And my computer is frozen right now, so I'm just going to pause. All right, I'm sorry about that pause, but my computer was frozen. I just want to make sure that it doesn't get lost. So I drew my area model. I labeled my area model in expanded form. My next step is to write my multiplication problems. So we started with a large rectangle, and now we just split it up into smaller rectangles. You can see now I have 3 rectangles here. 4 rectangles. 2, 3, and 4. 3 lines, 4 rectangles. Okay, now I'm going to find a partial product here. So I'm going to write a multiplication problem for each of these sections. Okay, that's why it's called place value sections method. Place value section. So 4 digits, 4 place value sections. Okay, so I'm going to take each side of each of these smaller rectangles and create a new multiplication problem. So for this rectangle, you can see here, and it might be easier if here's one side of the rectangle, and here's the other. And you can even see it. I outline the whole thing. So now I'm finding the area of this rectangle. Remember, again, it's length times width. You just multiply the sides. So I'm going to have 4 times, and remember, another way to represent a multiplication sign is a circular dot here. And then I have 3,000. Okay, 4 times 3,000. This is why it's so important to make it so big. Okay, you can already see that I'm running out of space. Okay, for this rectangle here, my side, you can see that it's sharing the same side as this rectangle. So if this is 4, this is 4, this will be 4, so will this side and this side. Now I just need to get the number from the other side. 4 times 800, 4 times 20, and 4 times 6. All right, so I drew my area model. I labeled my area model in expanded form. I wrote my multiplication problems. Now I'm on to step 4. Solve your multiplication problems to find the partial products. And this was another one of those academic vocabulary terms. when we solve each of these smaller multiplication problems, it's going to give us a product, but it's going to give us a product for this problem. So it's going to be a partial product, not the total product that we're looking for, just a part of it. It's partial. Okay, so to do that, since I'm multiplying in each of my problems, I'm multiplying by 4. I'm going to write my multiples of 4 to make sure I don't get this wrong. And this is why it's so important to make sure that you have your single digit by single digit multiplication down so fluently. But just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and write my 4s here. So however you know your 4s, you can write those. So I have, and if you do the song, you can sing a song. I'm trying to see where the best place to write these. My class uses a song, so I'm going to sing the song as I write them out. So we have 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20, 24, and 28, and 32, 36, and 40, 44, and 48. 4 times 12 is 48. 4 times 12 is 48. Excuse my singing voice. All right, so this is going to be 1, 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. You really don't have to do 11 and 12. You can actually stop at the 9. But since I sang the song, I'm just going to write out all my 4s. Perfect. So now I'm ready to multiply. All right, so I'm going to distribute my 4 to my 3 here. So I'm going to do 4 times 3. And if I look at my 4s, I can see that 4 times 3 equals 12. And then I have to add those 3 zeros back on. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So my first partial product is 12,000. And I would circle that to make sure I remember that. Okay, so go into our next problem. 4 times 8 equals 32. 2, write my 2 zeros, or add my 2 zeros in, and don't forget your comma. 1, 2, 3. 3,200 is my next partial product. Next, 4 times 2, 8. Add that 0 back in. Next partial product is 80. And then I have 4 times 6, 24. See, and if you write these down, it's so quick and easy. I know it takes more work and time to write them down in the first place, but once you have them down, it makes your problem go a lot faster. Great. So step 4, solve for partial products. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have all 4 of my partial products. On to the final step. This says add. Remember, I made a mistake here. That's why it's important to write in pencil. Add partial products to find your total products. So now I'm going to take all 4 of these partial products, add them, make sure that I line them up, and I'll have my final product. All right, so I have 12,000. Okay, when I add, I like to make sure I draw lines between each digit and draw a little small place value chart just to make sure that I don't make a silly mistake when adding, because it would stink if you did all of this right and you get to your adding and you accidentally misalign your products here and your add-ins in your problem, and then you make a mistake there and you get the whole problem wrong. So to make sure I don't do that, I'm going to make sure I have my ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. Just make sure that you don't make a silly mistake there. So 12,000 plus 3,200, so I have 3,200. 80, 8 goes in the 10, 0 in the 1s, and 24. Okay, 1, 2, now add my partial products. I'm going to change colors here. Okay, so I'm in my ones place. I have 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 4. That equals 4. 0 plus 0 plus 8 plus 2. So 8 plus 2 is 10. If I have 10 tens, that is also equal to 100. So I'm going to regroup my 100, and I'll have 0 tens left over. Now I'm in my hundreds. 100 plus 0 is still 100. Plus 200 is 300. Moving on to my thousands, I have 2,000 plus 3,000. That equals 5,000. And then 10,000s, I have just one 10,000. So I have one 10,000. So my answer here, I'm going to write my comma. 1, 2, 3. My total product is 15,304. Notice that I did not say 15,304. There are no ands until we get to decimals and fractions and mixed numbers. So my product is 15,304. And that is a review on how to use area model, the place value sections method to multiply one digit by 4-digit multiplication. Okay, this is a review, so you may remember this already or you may need a refresher. So next you're going to be practicing with your multiplication using this method. Okay.